10 years ago, I stood in our family's living room, my hands trembling as I held a crumpled $500 check that had bounced. The fancy chandelier that my parents had just installed cast harsh shadows across their angry faces. I was 22, fresh out of college and struggling to find my first real job during the recession. "I trusted you." My father's voice boomed through our upscale home. "$500, Sarah. A simple loan that you promised to repay." I flinched at his words. The money had gone to cover an unexpected car repair. I needed a vehicle for job interviews. I'd been certain my freelance web design payment would clear in time to repay the loan. But the client had disappeared without paying. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "The client still hasn't paid me. I just need a little more time." My mother's perfectly manicured hand slammed down on our imported marble coffee table. "More time? While you live here rent-free, eating our food, using our utilities, and now you can't even repay a simple loan." My older sister Madison smirked from her position on the designer sofa. She never missed a chance to witness my failures. "This is why I told you not to help her," she said smugly. "Sarah's never been good with money. Remember how she chose that worthless computer science degree instead of joining the family investment firm?" I bit my lip, fighting back tears. Yes, I'd chosen to study programming instead of finance like Madison. I had dreams of creating something meaningful, not just managing other people's wealth. But at that moment, watching my sister's successful life contrast with my struggles, doubt crept in. "I have some promising interviews next week," I offered weakly, "as soon as I get a job." "Enough." My father's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "We've supported you through college, given you every advantage, and this is how you repay us? By becoming a deadbeat." The words stung like a physical slap. I'd never seen him this angry, not even when I'd announced I wouldn't be joining the family business. "Get out," he said, his voice suddenly cold and quiet. My mother gasped. Madison's smirk widened. "What?" I stuttered, certain I'd misheard. "Get out." He enunciated each word carefully. "Pack your things and leave. Tonight. If you can't manage a simple $500 loan, you clearly need to learn some responsibility." "Dad, please," I pleaded. "It's just temporary. Once my business gets going." "Business." Madison's laugh cut through the room like glass. "Your little website projects. This isn't a business, Sarah. This is you playing around on a computer while living off mom and dad." My mother stood up, rushing invisible lint from her designer dress. "Your sister is right. Madison joined the firm right after college. She's already managing major client portfolios. Meanwhile, you're chasing pipe dreams and failing to pay your debts." I looked around the room, at my father's unmovable expression, my mother's disappointment, Madison's satisfaction, and something inside me hardened. Years of being compared to my successful sister, of having my choices questioned, of being the family disappointment. It all crystallized in that moment. "Fine," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'll leave." I turned and walked upstairs to my room, grabbing the largest suitcase I could find. As I packed my clothes and personal belongings, I could hear Madison downstairs. "It's about time," she was saying. "She needs to learn that money doesn't grow on trees. Not all of us can be successful like me." I shoved my laptop, my most valuable possession, into my backpack along with all my programming books and hard drives. They might not see value in my skills, but I knew technology was the future. My mother appeared in the doorway as I was zipping up the suitcase. "Sarah," she sighed, "this is for your own good. You need to learn financial responsibility." I straightened up, meeting her eyes. "Thanks for the lesson, Mom." As I dragged my suitcase down the stairs, my father stood by the front door, holding an envelope. "Here," he said gruffly, $200. Find yourself a room somewhere until you sort yourself out, and don't come back until you've learned the value of money." I stared at the envelope but didn't take it. Something in me had shifted. If they wanted me gone, I'd leave with nothing from them. "Keep it," I said quietly. "I'll manage on my own." Madison snorted. "Good luck with that. Try not to end up homeless with your worthless computer skills." I walked out into the cool evening air, my entire life packed into one suitcase and a backpack. My ancient Honda Civic, the source of all this trouble, sat in the driveway. At least it was running now, even if the repair had cost me everything. As I drove away from the only home I'd ever known, tears finally spilled down my cheeks, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of determination. My family thought they were teaching me a lesson about money, but they were actually giving me something far more valuable: freedom. I had $237 in my bank account, a working laptop, and a brain full of coding knowledge that my family thought was worthless. It would have to be enough. That night, I slept in my car in a Walmart parking lot, using my laptop to apply for every programming job I could find. But I didn't just send resumes, I started coding. If no one would hire me, I'd build something myself. By morning, I had the basic framework for a revolutionary financial software platform, one that would help small businesses manage their cash flow and avoid exactly the kind of situation that had destroyed my relationship with my family. I didn't know it then, but that first night of homelessness was actually the first night of my empire. The next 10 years would transform me from the family failure into someone they desperately wished they hadn't thrown away over $500. The irony? That bounce check would turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. Because sometimes hitting rock bottom is exactly what you need to start building a mountain. As I curled up in my car that first night, Madison was probably sleeping in her luxury apartment, secure in her success at our family's firm. She had no idea that in 10 years, she'd be the one desperately needing my help. Except she wouldn't recognize me as the billionaire she was begging to save their company. Little did any of them know, being kicked out wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. And when they finally realized who I'd become, that $500 would seem like pocket change compared to what they'd lost by throwing me away. 10 years later, I stood at the window of my penthouse office, staring down at the city below. The financial software platform I'd started coding that first night in my car had evolved into Cashflow Technologies, one of the most successful fintech companies in the world. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Ms. Walker, the meeting with Kingston Investment Group is in 10 minutes. Their entire board is here." I smiled faintly. Kingston Investment Group, my family's company, though they had no idea I was connected to Cashflow Technologies. The press called me the ghost CEO because I never appeared in public, never allowed my photo to be taken. The world knew Sarah Chen, the mysterious founder of Cashflow, only as a signature on documents and a voice in virtual meetings. "Send them to the main conference room," I replied. "I'll be there shortly." I checked my reflection in the window. Gone was the desperate 22-year-old who'd slept in her car. In her place stood a woman in a tailored suit, radiating quiet confidence. The last decade had transformed me in ways my family couldn't imagine. The first 2 years after being kicked out had been brutal. I'd worked as a barista during the day, coding my software at night in a tiny studio apartment I could barely afford. But slowly things had started changing. A small tech incubator had noticed my prototype. Then came the seed funding, the first major clients, the viral growth as small businesses discovered my platform. By year 5, Cashflow Technologies was revolutionizing financial software. By year 8, we were worth billions. And now, in a delicious twist of irony, my family's company was on the brink of collapse, desperately seeking investment from the very person they'd once thrown away over $500. I walked into the conference room, noting how the Kingston board members sat up straighter. My father occupied the center seat, looking older than I remembered. Madison sat beside him, her designer outfit not quite hiding her obvious anxiety. My mother perched nearby, clutching her premium leather portfolio like a shield. None of them recognized me. 10 years, a different last name, and success had changed me beyond their ability to see their failure daughter. "Good morning," I said calmly, taking my seat at the head of the table. "Let's discuss Kingston's situation." My father cleared his throat. "Ms. Walker, we appreciate you taking this meeting. As I'm sure you know, Kingston Investment Group has been a respected name in finance for 30 years. And now you're hemorrhaging clients, bleeding money, and 3 months away from complete collapse," I interrupted smoothly. "Your recent attempts to compete with modern fintech platforms have failed spectacularly. You're here because you need a miracle." Madison flinched. She'd been in charge of Kingston's modernization efforts, all of which had failed miserably against Cashflow's superior technology. "We prefer to think of it as an opportunity for strategic partnership," my father attempted. I opened the folder in front of me. "Let's be honest, Mr. Kingston, you need Cashflow Technologies to save you. The question is, why should we?" My mother leaned forward. "Our client relationships, our history, our reputation." are worth nothing if you can't keep up with modern financial technology, I completed. Your company is dying because you refuse to adapt. You chose to cling to outdated methods while the world changed around you. Madison's face flushed. Our methods worked perfectly well for decades. Just because some upstart tech company generated more revenue last quarter than Kingston has in its entire history, I raised an eyebrow. Tell me, Miss Kingston, how is that philosophy of refusing to change working out? She fell silent, her expression reminding me of the smirk she wore the night they kicked me out. I stood up, walking to the window. 10 years ago, Kingston turned down an opportunity to invest in cash flow technologies. Your exact words were worthless computer projects, if I recall correctly. My father frowned. I don't remember. No, you wouldn't. I turned back to face them. Just like you probably don't remember throwing your youngest daughter out over a $500 loan. The room went completely still. My mother's portfolio slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a thud that echoed in the silence. Sarah? Madison whispered, her face draining of color. I smiled coldly. Hello, family. Surprised to see what worthless computer skills can accomplish. My father half rose from his chair, then sank back down. But, you're Sarah Walker, the ghost CEO. Amazing what a person can achieve when they're not being constantly compared to their successful sister, I said, returning to my seat. Now, about Kingston's future. Sarah, honey, my mother started, her voice sugary sweet. If we'd known, family should stick together. Family? I laughed. You threw me away over $500. Now you want my help when you need billions? Madison found her voice. That was different. We were trying to teach you responsibility. And I leave finance for third it, along with some other valuable lessons about who to trust. I opened another folder. Cash Flow Technologies will be acquiring Kingston Investment Group. Your clients will be transitioned to our platform. Most of your employees will be retained. Acquiring? My father's voice cracked. But we're not for sale. Check your shareholders' agreement, I said quietly. Cash Flow has been buying Kingston shares through subsidiary companies for the past year. As of this morning, we own 51% of your company. The blood drained from his face as he realized the truth. His company, his legacy, now belonged to the daughter he'd thrown away. You can't do this, Madison protested weakly. I already have. I stood up. The press release goes out in an hour. Oh, and Madison, about that corner office you're so proud of, I'll need it cleared out by Friday. My mother burst into tears, perfectly timed as always. Sarah, please, we're your family. No, I corrected her. You stopped being my family the night you chose $500 over your daughter. I'm just the CEO making a business decision. After they left, I returned to my window, watching their expensive cars pull away from the building that bore my company's name. My assistant appeared with a glass of champagne. Congratulations on the acquisition, he said. Though I suspect this was about more than just business. I took the glass, remembering that first night in my car, coding through tears and determination. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising so high that the people who hurt you have to crane their necks just to see how far you've come. The press release went viral within hours. Ghost CEO revealed. Tech billionaire acquires family business that once threw her out over $500. My phone exploded with messages from long-lost relatives suddenly remembering their dear cousin Sarah. I ignored them all, focusing instead on transforming Kingston into something better. The family name would fade from the company, replaced by innovation and progress. Everything they'd resisted for so long. Sometimes at night, I drive past my old family home in my Ferrari, remembering the girl who left with nothing but a laptop and determination. The house seems smaller now, less impressive. Just like the people who once seemed so powerful to me have shrunk in the shadow of what I've built. The $500 check that bounced. I had it framed. It hangs in my private office, a reminder that sometimes being thrown away is just the universe's way of forcing you to soar. My family, they still try to contact me sometimes through lawyers and intermediaries. They want to reconcile now that I'm worth billions. But I learned long ago that true family doesn't have a price tag. And that $500 they kicked me out over. I donate that amount every hour to programs helping homeless youth start tech companies. Because sometimes the best way to heal old wounds is to ensure no one else has to suffer them. The view from the top isn't about looking down on those who hurt you. It's about being able to see clearly who you always were, even when they couldn't.